That picture says it all.
Which one?
The one with the white woman looking
Yeah.
very chic, walking towards a man who's obviously cradling his wife, who's, dying? And he's terrified. You can see it in his face, of the judgment, probably.
Yeah.
It's the judgment of these people. That's the interesting thing.
All the photos in this exhibition have prompted reflection. I'm looking at one in particular. It shows a very smartly dressed white woman striding past two black people who are sitting on at the side of the pavement. And I'm looking at the caption, which reads, "The effect of apartheid was to engender feelings of indifference across the colour line." And I've been thinking, well, how would you rewrite that sentence to apply to homelessness on the streets of our towns and cities in Britain today? And I guess you might write it, "The effect of social inequality was to engender feelings of indifference across the poverty line." And it's so sad that, all those years after apartheid was defeated, that the same situation arises in different contexts around the world today, and perhaps even worse.
I just think it's very thought-provoking, and the actual faces tell such stories. And I think it's when you see the picture here that talks about the helper having to have separate accommodation. It reminded me of the novel, The Help, and how the toilets are separate. Exactly. And it's the dates on there. I mean, it's so recent, isn't it, that it really sort of hits home. And the photo at the top there that's got the charity sign of the collection for the spastics. Well, I've got a grandson with cerebral palsy, which is what they used to be called spastics. So yes, it's an excellent display.
I think one of the most striking photos for me in this entire exhibit was the photo of the black maid and raising a white child. And it's so familiar and so expected to see groups that are oppressed, dehumanized, just treated like they're not worth anything, to be expected for them to raise society and to be the backbone of it. And without them and their hard labor, and because people can have the luxury to oppress and hold them down, as a white group, they are able to live in luxury and their comfort that isn't afforded to black people, and it wasn't afforded to them in South Africa. And racism is still an issue to this day. And as striking as the photos are, and as powerful as it is, and as hard as it is to learn about what happened in the past, it would be a lot easier to learn about it if it wasn't happening today, and if it wasn't still something we have to tackle today. But yeah,
I really liked that one of the beach photograph with Reuben Island in the background. I just thought, luxuries like that we really take for granted. The beach, everyone loves the beach, and we go to it so often, and we don't blink an eye when we see other people of other races there. But to see that is something quite shocking, I think. This one, because that just shows everything, absolutely everything about South Africa. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the deep eye, the hopelessness. Somebody else is controlling his world, his life. This one, and youth. This one, next to this one, is just amazing, because it shows you the beginning, and it shows you the old man, which is like the end, where this starts and where that ends. So yeah, these two. Turned into an old man. Where did his life go?
I guess it's the baby crying picture, because it's very large. If you look at the baby the way he cries is very different from the babies I see in London, for example. He has such a face of desperation and, in a way, pain, and this face expression of fatalism. He seems so helpless and hopeless that, and he's a baby. He just came to the world not knowing anything, not able, very, very vulnerable. In that situation, I guess that's the one which strikes me the most.
I'm very struck by the photos of children because I just find that very emotionally kind of compelling, and wondering how those children grew up, because it's so unfair. And especially, I'm actually looking at the picture over there of the mother with her 2 children. Children, they are sort of so full of energy and life, and then you wonder whatever happened to them in this very harsh situation where they really didn't have very much chance, but they had their whole lives in front of them, and it could have been so much different.
My favourite picture is heading to a wedding, as it's one of the few pictures that signifies black people as normal human beings and not downtrodden, and they look like a happy family and signify hope.
I find this picture extremely inspiring. This is not the real Idi Amin. This is a lookalike of Idi Amin, and he is asked to parade around the streets of Cape Town as a way of creating an analogy with the situation in Uganda and how South Africa will look like if someone like him comes to power. I found the use of analogies very powerful in deeply divided societies. So whether you are an Irish Republican or an Ulster Unionist, you use analogies from other parts of the world to mobilize your own constituency, your own community against the other community. So this image builds very nicely the narrative of the white supremacists in South Africa. And the argument there is that if not white rule, then it's Idi Amin or someone like him.
So the photograph of the South African military-style police sat in their van, and their expressions got me thinking, because it's that expression of being in control. It's cold, but it's also in a kind of poignant way fearful that they are somehow afraid of being attacked or something, or what they're doing is that this rivalry that they had created, and that very much feels relevant to a lot of today's politics and the mentality. And it's this mentality that is what drives people apart.
The photograph that really caught my eye, amongst many wonderful photographs in this exhibition, was the picture of Steve Bloom's work colleague Charles. It stood out first of all because Charles initially didn't look as desperate and distraught as many of the people in the other images. He was handsome and well built, his baby daughter in his arms, plump and seemingly well fed. But then I saw a sadness in his eyes, and I read the caption which explained that his job entailed preparing photographs for reproduction. Charles was permitted to make a single exposure onto a sheet of film, but if more than one exposure was made onto the same sheet of film, then it constituted skilled work which was reserved for white technicians. It was a surprise, and I marvelled again at the ability of a great photographer to capture so much in a single image.